Good evening and welcome back. Top Table Talk is here, and we are going to be discussing lots and lots and lots of football news, and of course, some cup news as we continue the good feeling from the weekend. And we're still celebrating, Daz, a huge historic trophy win. Newcastle United, 70 years is over. Domestic trophy is in the bank. Mate, you recovered yet?
You know, Pete, I'm getting to the stage now. I'm nearly getting sick of watching Dan Burn on TV. Every channel you put him on, he's on TV. No, I'm not. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's like he has his own TV station at this stage. But no, it's been absolutely amazing, really. And social media, all the clips and everything that's doing the rounds, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's got great coverage everywhere. Like it's 2 days old and it's still the big news. So it is great. But no, still living off that ticket anyway, Pete. It's great.
Definitely living the dream right now. But Charlie, you're here. You're one of the panel represented. The other boys are coming. They're on their way, doing various different things, whether it's work, whether it's coming off another stream. They'll be on very shortly. But Charlie, you're here. You didn't really. I think you had a little bit to say about Newcastle's cup win on Sunday. But look, this is your opportunity to talk about it. Obviously, against Liverpool, we won. You know, we wanted the trophy. It seemed more so. I'm not sure if you gave us a chance to win it. I think you gave us a little bit of a chance to win it on Sunday. What are you thinking now? It's done and dusted, and Newcastle United have won the Carabao Cup.
Well, it's done something that we weren't able to do, which is beat Liverpool in domestic cup final. But yeah, no, it's great for football. I think above all else, obviously, fantastic for the city of Newcastle, great for the fans and that. But I think it's also great for football as well. It is nice to have new winners of trophies. And look, do you know what? It did mean more to Newcastle. They did want it more. The fans wanted it more. You know, you can understand why, because of the weight and whatnot. And you can understand with Liverpool, the League Cup probably isn't that big of a priority. Yeah, you know, of course, they didn't not want to win it. But in terms of the season, the Premier League is obviously the biggest priority. And you could tell that Newcastle wanted it more. From minute one, they were more up for it. Eddie Howe's game plan was spot on. The tactics were spot on. And Liverpool just didn't really have any answers to it. They weren't particularly good, but also Newcastle didn't allow them to be any good either. So above all else, mate, it's just great for football, really. I mean, it's always great to see Liverpool lose as well. But yeah, it's one of them where kind of football's the winner, really, in the sense of that. But yeah, it's great, mate. It's great. I mean, I always love going to Newcastle. Always love going to St James's Park. And yeah, it's great for Eddie Howe as well. There's a lot. I mean, I know we bantered about it earlier in the season and that, but there's, you know, people were questioning whether he was the right guy to move things forward. I remember the conversations when, you know, you were in the bottom half of the table towards the beginning of the season. Maybe those conversations at that point were justified potentially, but you know, he's done a brilliant job with a good set of players, by the way, but not the most squad depth. No investment over a number of windows now, and to do that, he's done a fantastic job. He's got freedom of the city now, as he should, and yeah, it's just great all round for everyone involved.
No, I respect it. I respect it. And obviously, like you said, you're always happy for Liverpool to lose. You've obviously got that little bit of rivalry there, fighting for Champions Leagues and various other things over the years. So it's always nice to have another person on our side backing us up with regards to
and
that.
Also it means that we can say we went out to the winners as well, so that sounds better.
You're that, Charlie.
Exactly, mate. So that's a bonus as well.
Yeah, I'm sure Wolfie and Potts were saying the same yesterday.
No, they definitely. Well, when they say, I can't remember. They probably were.
Yeah, but no, I know that's absolutely fair with regards to that. And we've got Richie in the house. Rich,
good evening, boys. I'm very well, thank
Rich.
you. Very well. I'm sure you boys are still on cloud nine, shall we say?
Absolutely,
that's for
mate.
sure, Rich.
Absolutely.
What's it like living in Newcastle and being surrounded by it now in your face?
You were worried about it
Well,
as well, weren't you, beforehand?
Yeah, I work from home today. Put it that way. No, I
And
was
you're sick for the rest of the week.
yeah. I was in the West Home Club in Wallsend on Sunday watching the match with all the Geordies, and yeah, it was good, man. I have to say it was good. You know, seeing so many happy Newcastle supporters. Obviously, I've got a lot of good friends, Newcastle fans, so it was good to see them as people crying. You know, it just meant so much to a lot of people. Obviously, kids in there who who've, you know, spoilt for seeing it, you know, only being 12, 13, 14 years old. And then you had grown men that are 60, 70-year-old crying because they'd never seen it before. So it was really nice. And it just made me want Villa to win something this season. You know, we're in the FA Cup, we're in the Champions League. So, yeah, it's on Villa to win something now to kind of make me feel happy in the same way.
Absolutely, yeah. This is it now. It could well spur all the other teams on that are kind of clawing and scratching to fight with this top six, the likes of us, Forest as well. Meaning Newcastle and Villa, and then Forest as well. Fighting out Brighton, I think, is still in the mix too. So it could well spur those teams on in the FA Cup to push it on. But boys, I wanted to kind of stick with the Newcastle just for a second. We'll make sure we get around all the teams as well, because there's still a lot to fight for, particularly with our three teams on the table. But there's a few people that put in the chat about Paul Scholes. Now, I don't know if you've seen the overlap today, and you've seen the comments of Paul Scholes and his reaction. So Lee from Newcastle Fans TV, friend of the channel, was talking, and obviously represented Newcastle as part of the panel, and talk about what it means to win the Carabao Cup and the feeling it has within the city. Everything you've just explained, Rich, and Scholes almost just starts breaking out in laughter with regards to it, making out that it's only the Carabao Cup, and really sort of belittling the moment for Newcastle United and for Lee as well, who I thought really spoke really well as a Newcastle representative. You know, what do you make of those sorts of comments from people like Paul Scholes? Because he's not the only one. Jay McCarrick has made similar comments before, not necessarily to Newcastle, but you know, belittling people's achievements. I don't know if you heard it, Rich, Charlie, but what from what I've said, if you haven't heard it, what do you make?
I haven't heard it. I can kind of imagine what he's saying. And
not a surprise, is it really?
Yeah,
I'd expect that sort of thing.
Go on, you go, Charlie. You go, mate. You go.
Like, it's not really a surprise to me. You expect it. You could understand. I'm not defending them or anything, but I can maybe slightly understand where they're coming from in terms of, well, certainly from Scholes' perspective, the stuff that he's won in his career, how successful he's been, all those major trophies, that a League Cup to him personally probably doesn't mean very much. But then I think those comments are kind of very out of touch. It's completely, you know, misunderstanding the enormity of what's happened, how long a club have waited and whatnot. And you can guarantee, right, if Man United had waited 70 years for a trophy, he wouldn't be saying the same thing about the League Cup. So, you know, it's a shame really, but it's not unexpected. And yeah, you know, I mean, I don't think people really care about what he's going to say. Great footballer, but I mean, some of his comments are slightly questionable on his pundit work that he does. But no surprise. But you know, it is what it is, isn't it? I don't think any Newcastle fans are going to be too fussed, and that's not going to take the shine off enjoying the trophy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree like that with Charlie. I wouldn't care. Like, it's not even important. You guys enjoy the win and enjoy the moment and enjoy the history. And I just don't understand where this disrespect for the League Cup and for trophies has come from. Like, these are players of our age and of our ilk who, you know, the League Cup was a huge competition and it meant a lot to win this cup. You know, all the teams in the Football League are involved in it. You know, someone has to win it at the end of the season. If you look at the teams that you guys had to beat to get to win the trophy, it's a difficult competition to win. I don't understand where this disrespect for the League Cup and the FA Cup has come from. You know, Aston Villa have won it 5 times. last time we won it was 96. I honestly think a little bit is because it's now called the Carabao Cup. If it was called, I don't know, if a bigger company was sponsoring it or something like that, it would
Coca-Cola.
probably have a little bit more kudos about it. When it was the Coca-Cola Cup, when it was the Carling Cup, it meant a lot more to people. I don't know whether it's like a perception because it's not a well-known brand that runs it, that owns it, or sorry, that sponsors it. I don't know whether that has something to do with it, but I don't understand where, there's only limited amount of competitions and trophies that any teams can win in any given season. And you guys have won it. And it just smacks a little bit of bitterness, to be honest. And, Manchester United are no longer a big club now in terms of where they are in the league and what they're doing. So it's a jealous thing. Newcastle, Aston Villa, even the likes of Brighton now and one or two other clubs are now joining this, breaking into this cartel, and they don't like it. And they're now, because it means that they have to actually do some research. It actually means that they have to look at Newcastle's players and see how good they are, look at Aston Villa's players and see how good they are. And they actually can't be lazy pundits anymore and just talk about Man United and Liverpool and Chelsea, with all due respect to Charlie. They can't talk about them anymore. They've actually got to do some actual proper punditry and do some research.
Oh, yeah, facts, absolutely facts there, Rich. I 100% agree with that last comment there, and I'm with you. But Dad, your opinions on it, you were kind of giving a bit of a laugh here. I know you must have watched it yourself. But what did you make?
I did, and I get where Lee was coming from with the question, because that's the thoughts on our list. We've been talking about it for a long time ourselves. Oh, whoever wins a trophy in Newcastle, whoever manager wins a trophy, they'll get a statue. No, it's just like a saying more than anything else. But like Scholes has put his foot in his mouth there, or someone else's foot in his mouth. But he granted, for him, like it doesn't mean as much because he's won numerous things under the great Sir Alex Ferguson. Sorry, Kaz. Look, so many great managers have come to Newcastle and haven't won a trophy. Keegan, Robson, and other managers have been there and haven't won either. Souness, Dalglish, then the Steve Bruce. But like Eddie Howe has managed to achieve the impossible for Newcastle. There was even talk going around about a curse at one stage as well. So he's achieved the impossible that hasn't been done for 70 years. So like we're allowed to hold him in that high esteem, and there's even talk of him getting an extended contract or something. I remember seeing something today. I don't know, a bonus. If we get to Champions League as well, he gets some kind of a massive bonus, and he deserves it, for what he's done. Look, it's too early to start realistically talking about a statue. Maybe like he's so much, as you said on Sky News, Pete. He's so much yet to achieve. So. Then we can talk about that statue, but he's on the right road for it, and fair play to Eddie Howe. It's just Scholes, know your audience. Okay, if you're trying to play to your mainly Man United fan base, you're going to get a bite, but it's just it's meant to be a show that's conclusive for everyone, not just for the elites. So
I'm with you too. I agree with what all of you boys have said about it, and I agree with the initial point that you made, Charlie, in that you can understand why he's saying that, because he's a person that's won lots and lots of trophies. And when he was winning lots of trophies at Man United, the League Cup wasn't as big of a deal for the likes of him and Man United that were fighting for it. The thing that I think's changed now, I think, because there are so many teams fighting out at the top end of the table. We've talked about it before. Some people have argued that, the league's not as good in terms of quality and this, that, and the other. But what we have got, and I think we've all said it, boys, over the course of this season, and we literally just talked about it live before you came on, before we went live. I think Charlie and Daz, you were talking about it, about how competitive top five is, for example. And you look at, the fact that you got the top six traditionally, although Man U and Tottenham are out of it, but you got Brighton, you got Villa, you got Forest, you got Newcastle, you even got the likes of Fulham that are in within a shout
as well.
But yeah, sorry, Bournemouth, even more so. Like, you got all of those teams that are fighting out, that genuinely have a chance of European football, that genuinely have a chance of fighting at the end, at the top end of cup competition. So we won it in the League Cup, the Carabao Cup this year. We've just talked about the likes of Fulham, Villa, Forest, Brighton. They're all fighting out with Man City for the potential of winning the FA Cup. Like, these cups now mean more to everybody. So this cup might well have not been significant to Paul Scholes way back when.
I would debate whether I think it probably was. I just think it was just a bit like that. They would have thought this when they would have won it. They would have thought, right, that's the first in the cabinet. Like, now on to the next one. That's the big motivation to win the next one. That's how they would have thought it. But like, you can't win though, can you? Because this season, because it's so competitive for the top four, because Man City and Arsenal and Liverpool aren't having a 3-horse race, all of a sudden it's, the quality of the Premier League's not good enough. But then if those 3 teams were winning it, it'd be like, oh, well, the standard below the top 3 is rubbish. No one can compete with them. So you can't win either way. And I just think, just enjoy it and embrace it. It's what makes football interesting,
I'll be honest. If those top teams or considered top teams want to, belittle the Carabao Cup, that's fine. I'm quite happy to go back and win that again.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you hear Dead, you kind of like belittling the Carabao Cup and not really bothered about Spurs winning it. Like, I'm cool with that. I'm like,
it's fine.
You're going to get knocked out by by Wickham or somebody, next year. That's fine. I'm quite happily just go back and relive that again.
The thing is, they've done it with Villa with getting through to the last 8 of the Champions League. Liverpool started whinging on because they ended up playing Paris Saint-Germain in the last 16 and got knocked out. It's like, because Villa only got Club Brugge. Well, you get who you get. It was Paris Saint-Germain's fault for not doing well in the initial stages of the group phase. No one thought Manchester City would end up playing Real Madrid in the playoff round, but that's how it works. It's actually turned out in this last 8 that 4 teams that qualified in the top 8 are playing against 4 teams that came through the playoffs. So in the sense of the balance of the actual Champions League, it's actually worked out perfectly. 4 teams from the playoff phase have got through to the last 8, and 4 teams that qualified in the last 8 have got through. It just happens to be that Aston Villa are one of them and Liverpool aren't. So be it. Doesn't mean the quality of the Champions League is any worse.
No, not at all. And but Liverpool should be well, not necessarily Liverpool, but the rest of the English teams should be, wanting the English teams to do well to cement that 5th place, which I think has now pretty much been cemented. And we talked about teams all fighting out for the trophies. The point I was going to make on the end of it is that now all of a sudden, with the pressures that owners put on managers nowadays, you have to win a trophy. Especially if you're one of those top 6 sides, if you're not coming out with any trophy in a season, there is question marks on your managerial ability. So even more so now, all of these question marks are becoming bigger and bigger. So therefore, whereas some teams, like for example, Jurgen Klopp used to do it with the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, really not make it as important. He had to go in his last season and go and lift that Carabao Cup because that was the only thing he did lift in his last season at the club. And he needed to go out there and lift that trophy. And it now brings more of an importance to trophies like that, which then brings us back to the next point. Because, boys, it's all up for grabs. It's all up for grabs at the moment. You're looking at the league table. It is very, very tight, as we've talked about before.
Well, thank God it is, because otherwise this season would be so crap, wouldn't it? League's done, relegation's done. If this race wasn't going on, they'd be pretty dull.
Absolutely. And so you're looking at the league table now. We know that Liverpool have won it. I think most Liverpool fans are falling back on that after losing at the weekend. But you're looking at, Arsenal on 58, maybe slightly out of touch. Then you've got Forest, Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, Fulham, Villa, Bournemouth.
You can go all the way to 10th, probably.
Yeah. If you want to,
4th to 10th, 5 points. Mad.
It is absolutely crazy right now. And look, I know you touched on it before, Charlie, but is this going the distance? And if it is going the distance, what is it going the distance for? Is it going to go the distance in your opinion for top 5, or is it going to go the distance for top 6? Is it even going to go the distance for European football if it goes down as low as 8th? Like where do you see this going to the wire, and who do you think is going to be involved in what?
I mean, I think it goes to the distance and all of it, to be honest. You know, whether it's top 5, top 6, top 8, I think it's going all the way. Because there's literally, as I said, 5 points, isn't it, between 4th place and 10th place. And, you know, a lot of those teams are playing against each other. Look, you know, Villa have got Brighton next. You know, there's Brentford playing you boys next as well. I know Brentford are just 3 points behind Bournemouth, but they're not a million miles away. That's a difficult game as well. I think they've won 5 on the spin away from home. Now that's not an easy game. And a lot of these teams are playing against each other in the running. You know, we've got to play you boys, we've got to play Fulham, we've got to play Brentford still, we've got to play Forest. You know, so we got a lot of games in and around those teams as well. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But I think it definitely goes down to the final day. Whether it's for top 4, I think maybe it'll go down to the final day for 5th place. I think maybe 3rd and 4th could be secured by them. But that final spot will definitely go down to the wire. There's just been such a lack of consistency from all those teams. Look at the form of those teams, right? Competing for even if you look at Forest, and even if you go as high as 2nd place Arsenal, 2 wins in 5. Forest 2 wins in 5, Chelsea 2 in 5, City 2 in 5, you boys 2 in 5, Fulham 3 in 5, Villa 2 in 5, and Brighton about to put 4 wins together and a draw to put themselves right back in contention. But when you look at 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all with 2 wins in 5, like no one really seems to want it.
Yeah, I agree. It is everyone is right in the mix. And look, Rich, from your perspective, you know, I think I've asked you before. I'm going to ask you again. You know, you're one sort of round away from the Champions League semi-final. You're 1 match away from a semi-final at Wembley in the FA Cup. Does this become sort of 3rd choice now in this European race out of them all? Like, which one you're prioritizing? You're prioritizing them all? Like, how are you seeing it from a Villa perspective, mate?
I think Unai Emery's sort of said that the league is still the major priority. I think the FA Cup is still in his mind 3rd on the list. In many Aston Villa supporters' mind, I think the FA Cup is probably the top of the list because that's the most realistic one of winning. But the league is Unai Emery's priority. I think where we've got not an advantage, because I don't think we come 5th. I think I've said all along, I think we come top 6. I think we finish 6th. Yeah. But I think where we've got, where we've stolen a march and a few of the teams is the squad now. And we've got the vast majority of our players coming back to fitness. You know, touch wood, they don't get injured in international break. But when I look at the options now in defence with the likes of Pau Torres back fit, obviously Mings, Konsa, Disasi, Cash, Garcia, Maatsen, Digne, and then I look at the forward players: Asensio, Rodgers, Ramsey, Bailey, Watkins, Rashford. It's crazy. Daniel Marlon, I haven't even mentioned him.
And Asensio.
So, yeah. I mean, he's just crazy at the minute. So those options that he has. And then we've got Tielemans, McGinn, Barkley, and what have you, and an Onana in midfield. He's got the ability to change it up for different games depending on the competition. So that's what he's wanted. I think the difference between this season and last season, that's exactly what he wanted. So in theory, he can push it on all fronts. But yeah, it's going to, in answer to your question, it is, I think, going to go right down to the wire purely because there's so many teams involved, and every weekend there will be teams playing against each other in those similar positions that will take points off each other. So whether it's a draw between the 2 teams, or whether it's like, say, one team beats the other and it's kind of a 6-pointer, there's going to be so many twists and turns. And as Charlie said, the vast majority of teams on this list are kind of 2 wins from 5, which tells you that it's going to go right down to the wire, because Brighton have got 4 wins there, but they could equally go and lose the next 2 or 3 games. So it's going to be so difficult to call. Like, I can't see a team putting a run together of 5-6 wins in a row to bring it home. I can't see that happening. So that leads me to believe it's going to go right down to the wire.
Rich, would you, like, for me, if I'm looking at it from a Villa perspective, surely winning the FA Cup and getting Europa League football that way is easier than finishing top 6 in the Premier League?
I would say so. I think should we get? I'm pretty confident we'll get past Preston. Right? You couldn't ask for a better draw. Okay, so I'm pretty confident.
Famous last words.
Here he is. He's ghosted in at the far post. I saw you panicking in the last round. Who was it you played in the last round?
Exeter on penalty.
I saw you on your watch along panicking. But yeah, I'm pretty confident. I was confident against Bruges. I've been right. I've been confident along the way. So I'm confident of that. And then it just depends on who we get. If we get to the semis, who we get. And I think, yes, you're right, Charlie. That then is an assessment of, right, okay, you're basically, 2 games away from, like you said, Europa League football. And that would be huge, I think, for consistency for Aston Villa, because I think you guys have got that this summer, haven't you, Newcastle, where you've had the Champions League money from the season previously, you've banked a bit of it, so now you can spend it. And Villa will have made, I think it's £75 million we've made this season so far before we've played the quarterfinals. So we'll be touching 100 million in terms of prize money and gate receipts and everything from Champions League football that we can put towards a push
wages
next year. Yeah,
are you not in trouble with UEFA though, Rich? You're not in trouble.
I think there will be a fine. Yeah, I think there will be a fine. I think it's 80 something percent. Yeah. But it's got to drop to 70%, which is why there's been such a race to try and push for the turnover. So every single competition, every single round we get through is as important as anything else, because if we can get through to the semi-final of the Champions League, then that is another sort of 20 odd million on the turnover. Which
how much is the fine,
huge.
sorry, Rich? Do you know how much?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, is it worth just taking the fine and screw it? I mean, it's going to be.
I think that's what they'll do. I think that's what they'll do.
You cheated and took a points deduction. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, we can have a few hotels to sell ourselves, mate, and the women's team. So,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think all clubs on this list could count for some sort of shady dealings going on. I think Villa sold their training ground to the HS2 thing and got about 500 million for it. So yeah.
It's all legit. It's above board.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Look, it could set a precedent, right? To be fair, because if you do get a fine, Rich, and it's from UEFA and it is a small one, every other team that comes after that is going to think, you know what, fuck it. I'll just hit the fine.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Every owner on this panel has got money. They've all got big money that they can spend, and the fine's going to be minimal to the point where they're going to be like, yeah, it's whatever.
It's a parking ticket, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Especially
if you're getting the money Rich is talking about, like the fine's going to be what? Even if it's 20% of that income coming in, you still net gain 80%. So
the worst thing is they keep putting these rules in, and the opposite effect is happening. Like teams like Villa, Forest, Newcastle are still gate crashing the top table. It's like they keep trying to put these rules in to protect the cartels, like clubs, and teams just find a way of circumventing it. It's obviously it'll end up being the Super League that they'll end up creating, and they'll just stop everyone from joining it. But yeah, it's just funny how they keep putting these rules and regulations in, and the opposite effect is happening. These teams seem to be getting worse.
Slow us down,
sorry.
Yeah.
But Daz, do you think that's going to continue though? Do you think, because Rich has made a good point, they're trying all these things to keep us down, but yet we're still fighting back. You know, Villa in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. We've just won the Carabao Cup. You got Forest that are finishing in the top 4 at the moment, the 3rd as it stands. Is it going to get to a point, in your opinion, where they're just going to go, you know what, we can't stop this because they're just fighting through it?
Yeah, well, look, it's starting to affect them as well. The rules they put in place are starting to impact on them. So, we're still from a Newcastle point of view, we're still playing catch up. But each season, we're getting closer and closer. So, in terms of financial wise, so they may eventually just give up, or some other kind of rules come in, but it'll be a while yet. They'll still drag it out. They won't make it easy.
Daz, I think you make a cracking point there. The more embarrassment they receive, if you look at Leicester, how they embarrassed the Premier League this season, the more egg on the face they've got, and the less of an appetite they want to go through that again. Do you know what I mean? So they've got to change the rules. But the problem isn't Forest, Villa, and Newcastle. The problem is the likes of Man U, Liverpool, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, who else usually Wolves, those kind of clubs, because the ones that are fighting, who are traditionally just above the bottom 3, they want to make it as hard as possible for those coming up so they can secure their place. And the Cartel 6, want to make it as hard as possible for, the 3 of us lot to break into them. So you're fighting both ends, and then you got this batch in the middle that's trying to break through, and this batch trying to push up from the Championship, and that's what's causing the issues. So you'll never get a consensus, and it has to be 14 have to vote. I think out of the 20.
Yeah.
So it's just stupid until it goes independent, until you stop governing yourselves from the inside, which is just crazy in my opinion. You're never gonna properly fix this problem unless they just say open the taps. My solution is simple: open the taps. Every transfer window, the owner puts a bond up, says, I'm going to spend 200 million this transfer window. Here's a bond. If I suddenly do a runner on the club or whatever, there's the money back ready. And it gets held in escrow. That solves the problem. And then let them spend. If Newcastle want to spend $1 billion, as long as they've secured that payment, what's the big deal? We've seen Chelsea spend $1.5 billion. Man U have spent $1 billion over 10 years. That hasn't necessarily gotten the success they want. Money does not mean you're going to get success.
Yeah, it was all these rules were brought in, not even necessarily initially for the Premier League. It was because the lower league teams were going out of business because their owners weren't looking after the club properly financially. But we all know, let's be honest, whether we agree with it or not, that the financial capability of the Premier League is far different and far superior to every other league. So you've either got to have one rule for the rest of the Football League and a different rule for the Premier League, or you've just got to change the rules, because it is hampering teams in the Premier League that, like you said, you've got Forest that have got an owner that is willing to back his team and put money in. Villa have got exactly the same. Newcastle United, we've already tried to prove it in the spending that we tried to do, and then we got caught off the back of that and had to sell Elliot Anderson. So, we're good for the money that we've got available to us, but I think it's a fair point. But
do you know what? Sorry, just one more thing. Do you know what's going to be interesting? If it ends up being 11 or 12 teams or whatever it could be qualifying for Europe for next season, I guarantee there'll be all these clubs, like Bournemouth and Brentford and that, voting for the relaxation of the rules, because all of a sudden they've got a vested interest in it. They'll want to push for Europe for the season after. So
that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that could be the breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's just clubs voting in their own interest, isn't it? It's just
you guys know the scenario. I've got the scenario if you want it. It's crazy.
It's virtually impossible. It is virtually impossible.
Yeah, in a way. So here's the scenario: Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest, Man City all qualify for the Champions League as the top 4. Newcastle qualify for the Champions League in 5th. UEFA awards an extra place for the English based on the Europe this season. Brighton qualify for Europa in 6th, Bournemouth in 7th, and Chelsea finish 8th, but they win the Conference League. Villa finish 9th, and qualify for the Champions League by winning the Champions League. Man U or Spurs finish 10th and qualify for the Champions League by winning Europa. In this above example, the Conference League place earned by Newcastle for winning, because it did say, or Liverpool, I'll take that Liverpool out, but now, boys, yeah, will be allocated to any of the top 10 teams. It could not be allocated to any of the top 10 teams. Therefore, it would go to 11th in the league. And that's your scenario.
Especially it's not happening. So,
well, Villa could win it. I guess the anomaly there is will Chelsea win the Conference Cup? But...
Exactly.
Mate, we're winning the Conference League. Don't you worry about that.
All right. Clip him.
No, that's fine, mate. Clip me.
It's an interesting scenario, and it's one that, although we're saying is unlikely, is still possible. So
I'll be honest with you, but I don't want to see it happen, right? The season I get my ass back in that top 3-4, and it goes all the way down to no, thank you, man.
And you've got 7 teams or 6 teams to share the Champions League with.
No, thank you, man.
Love it. Look, we're welcoming Rom to the panel. Good to have you, bro. I know you have just finished working.
He's been hiding all week, boys.
I did a show yes.
Yeah, we were there last night, bro.
It was Rums on it.
Yeah, it was, but with Saba.
Oh yeah, I can't. Boys, I've been on a 6-hour stream already today. Do you mind me just saying about Patrick?
No, you're gonna say
if you don't mind. So, Patrick, Man City YouTuber, he got diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years ago, and he was able to fight it off. After a lot of treatment and chemotherapy, etc. And he got the all clear. He then recently got told that the cancer's come back into, I think, his hip and his back, and it's terminal. And he's had it for a while, and I've done loads of streams with him, and the guy is just constantly smiling, constantly full of life. I'm sure a few of you boys have done stuff with him, know who I'm talking about, and Patrick. He's one of the nicest, apart from the club he supports, he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Got a daughter, he's got a lovely mum as well. And we've just been raising across the YouTube community. He needs 20,000 for this potentially life-saving treatment. He has to fly out to Turkey and get it done. And the community's come together. We just did a 6-hour stream on Never a Foul. Hussein started a stream now. We had loads of the YouTubers come and join. You know, Saeed was in there, LB, all of them, all the usual Lee, Guna, all of them. And the stream finished at 10-7 and we hit 20K, and it was just unbelievable. So he will be able to get that treatment now. But I don't know if, Pete, if I can send you the link, because I want to be greedy for him, because that's in Turkey. The best of the best is in Germany, which is 35 to 40K. I think he needs to get that one. So if I can send it to you, Pete, do you mind just chucking it in the chat? If anyone wants to donate a $5,
put it in the private chat, Wolfie, and I'll put it on screen.
Yeah, I'll chuck it in the private chat. And honestly, this is it's really important to understand. As much as us lot sit here and we banter each other's clubs and everything like that, we're all mates off there. We all love each other. We want nothing but the best for each other. And at the end of the day, there's more important things than football. And, you know, life has to come first. And the way Patrick has been, if I was Patrick, and I can't even imagine what he's going through, I'd be feeling sorry for myself, you know, in a corner somewhere staring at a wall, why me, and what have you. This guy's the complete opposite, and he's an inspiration to everyone for me. So I got nothing but respect for him, and thank you to everyone. There's loads I know who are in the chat now that were donating or just watching the stream, keeping us all going. So much love to everyone. And yeah, there's the link. If you can chuck a few quid there, it's such a moving story.
Definitely. There you go. That's just put it on the screen for you. So yeah, if you can, give us as much or as little as you possibly can. It just means every penny, every pound makes the difference, and to support a really nice guy. I've not had the benefit of being on stream with him, but I've watched streams that he's been on, and I know you guys have got a lot of respect for him and are really close with him. So if we can help from a Loaded Mag NUFC point of view, to our viewers that are watching now, make sure you go on there and give whatever you can. Appreciate that, Wolfie. Good man.
I appreciate it. Share it there, bro. Thanks.
Cheers,
no
Wolfie.
No problem at all. But look, Roms, we'll come to you. I want to get your opinion on this because I heard from a little bit from Errol yesterday on the 12th man, but from a perspective of Liverpool, we've talked about at the top of the show, Newcastle United winning it, winning the trophy. From a Liverpool perspective, how did you see it? There's a lot of people that are saying, Liverpool didn't turn up. A lot of people are saying Newcastle dominated and deserved to win. How did you see that game unfold? And what do you make of the aftermath of the Carabao Cup?
First of all, congratulations to yourself and Daz and all of the Geordies and Newcastle supporters in the chat. You lot were amazing. I was at the game. I try and go to as much cup finals as possible, and I'm fed up of this excuse that we didn't turn up, but it's because you didn't allow us to as well. I think credit has to go to Newcastle. I've actually watched back the game, and I know it's rare to watch back a game that your team loses. Sometimes I was there, you can be emotionally invested, and sometimes you need to watch the game when you're not as emotionally invested. You know the outcome, and you battered us pillar to post, didn't let us settle. There's a lot of excuses about fatigue and whatnot. I actually believe even if we knocked out PSG, correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, your brother's a PSG fan, isn't he?
Yeah.
I actually believe even if we had knocked out PSG, you still would have won that final. You just wanted it more. You didn't allow us to play. I'm not having the excuse of fatigue. I just think you wanted more, and we didn't turn up. No one really from our team did. We had subs that kind of got us going a bit. They were catalyst to us getting a goal, but we didn't deserve that at all. And going into the game, I did think we would win. It would be tough because Liverpool Football Club never do anything easy in finals. It always goes to penalties or extra time. But I just still back my team as you lot probably would have as well. But I just feel you just outclassed us, and you're now going to get some reactionary Liverpool fans out. Oh, could we? It's creeping and seeping into our fan base already. Some that might think we might now bottle it from a 12-point lead. This is what big cup final losses can do. It can bring the morale down, and I think it's for us to lift it back up. We got 2 weeks off. It will be a sour taste. We will get goaded. This is what football's about. But I think end of the season when we have that parade, I think everyone will be happy. And if you said to me at the start of the season, right, of course I wanted more trophies, and we will be a bit deflated because it's 2 trophies in one week essentially. But I think when it's all said and done, a lot of our fans didn't even expect us to win the league this season. You'd think Arsenal City were front runners. To say we've left the season with one of the biggest trophy, you could say, it will still turn out to be a good season. But when through a season expectations change, and of course we were capable of winning more, there's a lot of factors. Slot also not rotating. Certain players you could say fatiguing, but I don't like that excuse because you have a squad for a reason. You're supposed to rotate so you prevent stuff like fatigue. But yeah, it was disappointing. It's probably the worst cup final I've seen us play. We just weren't at the races. But I also want to give you your credit because you can't just say we're not. You lot did everything possible to make it uncomfortable. And you know what? I want to speak about off the pitch stuff now, right? We normally call it Anfield South, Wembley. That was St James South. You outsang us, you out atmosphered us. All of the white and black flags. It just looked amazing. We were all in black coats. There wasn't a sea of red. It's not how we've played Chelsea in the last 3 finals. We didn't create atmosphere at all. People fighting in the stands on our part. It was crazy. And
really,
yeah. What was that? What was that for, Rams? Why were they fighting?
Wow.
God knows, because it was 2 blocks down from me, and then when I went on Twitter afterwards, I saw a load more fights. I don't know what was over, but I'm going to assume frustration, not being used to losing the final. I just think it was built up, and I do think, you know how you lot came to London the night before and whatnot. I feel like all of that stuff matters. It transmits to the players. Like the players feel that you want it a bit more. I feel like we were complacent and we kind of thought we had that final already won. You can't go into finals like that, especially against a team that's been a long time and they're going to give their all. And even after the game, I left quite late, right? So I was on a train full of Geordies, but you were also lovely. You goaded me a bit, was chanting and whatnot. But what it meant to you, I was speaking to 50, 60-year-olds, like this is literally my first trophy. I've watched football for like 34 years. And what it meant to you, lot, it was beautiful. It was annoying on our part, but yeah, that's what football's about. But we just didn't turn up, Pete. And I just think now, when we come back from the international break, what a game to come back to. Merseyside derby at Anfield. Once we get another win and hopefully the wins start rolling, wrap the league up by early, and then we can enjoy the rest of the season. Should we have won more? Possibly, yes. I actually think we should have. But to leave the season with just the league, I think most people would take that. And we're being made to feel from rivals that it's not good enough. But maybe it's a testament to how successful we are and people think we should be doing more. But yeah, nothing but praise for Newcastle. You fully deserved it. Smashed us out the park, and yeah, deserved it, man.
I'm gonna just throw another sort of Liverpool-based question at you, and it was there's a lot of talk on the fallout of that game yesterday. Now strong links with PSG and Van Dijk.
Yeah.
There's talk that Salah hasn't yet signed a new contract. It's getting stronger links that Trent it's already done and wrapped up, and he's going to Madrid. Although a lot of Liverpool fans already think that anyway. Are you worried, right? And for everyone else, feel free in the panel to come in on this. Are you worried that arguably your three best players could actually walk away from your club for nothing this summer, and they're three monstrous players that you're going to have to replace?
100%, because I've been saying, I think Trent, I accept it from October's going. His best friend's in Madrid. Apparently, he's getting a 60 million signing on fee, which is crazy. Straight into his pocket. He's won everything there is to win at the club. I won't begrudge him. I know a lot of Liverpool fans will, but he wants a new challenge, and you can't begrudge him for that. But I genuinely believe Van Dijk and Salah now leave. And I thought, if you'd asked me this a fortnight ago, I thought they would stay. But I think it's taken too long now. And I genuinely believe them two are the difference between us in the top four race and us retaining the league. This is why I said retaining. And the reason why I say that, because I don't think Arteta's the man to take Arsenal to the league. I just don't. And I think City have a transition next season. Then by default, we'll be the champions. And I think we're next in line to win the league if them two stay. But I think it's gone. It's taken too long. And it's not even just those three, Pete, right? It's gross negligence from the club, because Konate has a year left in the summer. PSG is sniffing around. Alisson has a year left in the summer. That you could say that's 5 out of our, let's say, top 7, 8 players. 3 out of contract and 2 having about 12 months left. So it is very worrying. And I spoke to some more optimistic Liverpool fans but look what Slot's done this season. He has a sample size of will still be in good hands. You can't really replace the Salahs and the Van Dijks and the Alissons and Konate. You can't. Not all at once anyway. Maybe if one was to leave and the other was to leave the following summer, you can start to plan ahead. But with the ownership we got as well, we don't have that instilled faith that they're going to try and better us next season. So it is very worrying. And I do believe all three leave. And if it does happen, I think we might be in for a bumpy ride. Not gonna lie, we still got quality in the squad, but it's our output machine has gone. Our best defender for me in world football has gone. I know obviously Isaac's made him look average for a couple of games now, but I still think he is the best. But I just think it'll be very worrying. FSG have to act, and they have to act fast, because I think football players nowadays are running their contracts down, and you can't really blame them till basically when they've got nothing left and seeing where the money's at. Because we need to be honest, it's a business now. And you even saw your owner come out and say, look, I don't want Isaac to go anywhere, pay him what he wants apparently. And I think that'll have a big stay. I actually think he stays now off the back of that cup final, and I think you don't kick on. I think you get top 5 now. What it will do for you and galvanize and the momentum going forward, League Cup will be a big success for you lot. But it's worrying, Pete, and I do think all 3 leave now. I was the optimist. I kept saying Trent, I don't even speak about him, but Van Dijk and Salah, I kept saying they'll stay, but it started to turn to optimism, then hope, then it's like, you know what, I don't think so anymore. I actually don't. And it's not even just that you have to offer one big wages. The other ones they've all got a case. Trent can say, hold on, I'm the prodigal child, I'm the academy graduate, I need this amount. Salah can say, well, I've kind of single-handedly won the league. Virgil can say, well, hold on, I'm the captain. We can't just offer all of them these mad wages. We just don't do that. We're not a club that pays mad wages, especially all in one window. So it's worrying, and I do think all 3 of them leave. I do think all 3 of them leave now, man.
But surely they've planned for that, though. Liverpool must have planned for that. Like in terms of they would have known for a number of years that those guys are coming to the end. Surely they've got plans in place to replace them. This won't be a shock that they're probably all going to leave. Because like I look at it, it's coming up to the last couple of weeks of March. Liverpool must know now whether those three are staying. There's no way they still don't know. They know if those players are staying or going. So staying or leaving. So, like, I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean,
is their contract out this summer?
Yeah, contract out end of the season for Trent, Van Dijk.
So they could have already gone into a pre-contract agreement with everyone else. We just don't know about.
Yeah, of course.
Abroad from January.
Yes.
Audi
or Real or whoever it is. Yeah.
Everyone knows Trent's agreed with Madrid. Like, I mean, it's not officially confirmed, but like everyone knows that's pretty obvious, and that's kind of happened. But I would think surely Liverpool have planned for this eventuality. They must have plans in place. Like, they won't be scrambling around this summer thinking, "Oh shit, who can we get to replace Van Dijk? Who can we get to replace Salah?" Like, they've planned for that, Robs. They must have done.
Charlie, this is the thing. Edwards has been a good director for us. Obviously, Hughes is still proving himself. I know he had a good track record at Bournemouth. He's still proving himself, right? But it's a different scenario when Edwards extended Salah's contract last time before he left, and I think brought in Diaz as well. We were in a different place then. Our big hitters still had 2-3 years left. Yes, they might have prepared for this, Charlie, but the fact you're letting your three best players leave, even if you have prepared, it's still not going to suffice this fan base. It's going to be like, hold on, all three of them are leaving. 3 players are going to come in that are not as good as them. That's a guarantee. The 3 that come in will not be as good as those 3. So you could say they've planned, but it's still not going to be enough. And I do think it could become quite hostile this summer. And it just shouldn't, because we shouldn't be having to win the league and then there's a hostile environment around the club. It just shouldn't be the case. But because of gross negligence, it is. And I actually watched a bit of Race to Europe yesterday, Pete, with yourself on, and Errol was saying that we weren't really in a position to negotiate once Klopp had left. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I still feel like you still need to put the pressure on the contracts. I know we didn't have a director of football, but someone needs to take up that role or at least try and negotiate with them. You can't just leave them to go on their last year. It's crazy. But it's worrying, Charlie, to answer your question. They've planned, but it's not enough.
Even if you knew your manager was leaving, even if you knew Klopp was going, which is fair enough, there was question marks, and Van Dijk apparently wanted to see who was coming in and what was going to happen with the team. Salah was kind of and ahhing and thinking the same. Trent the same as well. That's all well and good, but let's be honest, Liverpool have been smashing it since the beginning of the season. If I'm Liverpool and I'm getting to November, December, and we're top of the league and we're flying, at that point, that's when you get them to sign the deal.
Exactly.
And you're saying, right, look at where we are, look at where we're going. We're competing this season. You can see where we're going. Sign the deal. Like at that point, and you're having that conversation. Whether it did happen or not, we don't know. But for me, I think the club have had ample opportunity to sit down with those boys and get round the table and say, what is it going to take for you to sign a deal? Look at where we're going right now. Look at what we're doing. And you could have had them signed and sealed, whether you could have got them all or even one of them signed and sealed to show the fans that they are trying to get one of these boys signed up to a long-term contract. And then you can fight the other ones. Trent was probably a no-go, but certainly Van Dijk and Salah, you could have at least gone to the table to. But I get the feeling that Liverpool don't. I get the feeling that Liverpool aren't going out or all out to keep these boys. And I think if you're a Liverpool fan, and I don't know what Wolfie, Daz, Rich, I don't know what you think about this. As a Liverpool fan, if that was me, I'd be worried. I'd be genuinely worried about what's to come, because you look at Trent aside for a second. You look at Salah, 33 years old. You look at Van Dijk, 33 years old. You look at Alisson, 32 years old. Like, they're your 3 main players, Trent aside, and they're all kind of aging. And maybe that's why they're not signing them to a deal and paying them whatever money. But to get players of their caliber to come in I'm not sure you've got the money to put down to sign the caliber of player that you'd need to replace them all within one summer. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm thinking.
This is it. This is a little bit for me. Like, there's a couple of things. Like, one is letting these players leave for nothing. Like, you're not making any money at all from these players. And then the second thing is, I don't know, you might be able to tell us, Rums, like, are there many rumours of transfers coming in? Like, I know there was Alexander Isak, and that has been talked about for Liverpool and Arsenal, but I can't see him. I just can't see him leaving Newcastle at all. But I haven't really heard any other rumours of, like, top centre backs coming in, or top strikers or top wingers. I don't know. You guys, you might be able to tell us better.
I'll name you some names that are heavily linked. You've got Frimpong from Leverkusen, close with Van Dijk, Gakpo, and Gravenberch. Kirkes, I think, will get done. Him and Sabozza have the same agent. They're compatriots. They speak every day, apparently. I do think we'll pay that 40 million for Kirkes. We're also linked with Jarrell Hato, Ain't Nori. In terms of the forward department, I think he's a top striker, by the way.
Rums, sorry, I just got to drop off, Rums. I'll catch up with you guys properly next week. But much love. Congrats again to the new castle. Come on, you tune it.
We're also linked to Rory Delap now. I think he's a class striker.
Liam Delap.
Yeah.
Ron Shaws.
You don't want Rory Delap.
Sorry, not Rory. You can tell I've had a long day. You can tell I've had a long day. But Liam Delap, we're linked with. That's probably the newest rumor that actually came out this morning or last night. I'm trying to think who else. It's not really even the forward department, funny enough. And that, do you know what's funny, Richard? That's the department that the outgoings look the most likely. Nunes will definitely be leaving, and we can get money from Saudi from him. That's a steal, because I backed him for as long as I could. But I think I've always said he'll do well elsewhere, but it's just not quite happened at Liverpool. We'll get money for him. There's been emergence that Jota's been linked with a move back to Wolves for 55 million. I don't know if anyone's going to pay that for a player that's quite injury prone, but I think we can get maybe 35 to 40 million for Jota. There's rumours of Diaz going to Barcelona. I don't know if they have the money quite yet, but apparently their stadium's done, so they're back on the rise. So all of our forwards are linked. Chiesa probably won't stay, but this is what's worrying me as well, Rich, because you can't have a wholesale of forwards just leaving the club. It just can't happen.
No.
And you can make a case. The only one that's guaranteed to stay is Cody Gakpo. Chiesa's probably going to leave. Nunes is definitely going to leave. Diaz and Jota are flirting with moves as well. And Salah, we don't know if he's going to sign. So it's only Gakpo. This is a very big summer for us. And we shouldn't be feeling like this after winning the league. You just shouldn't. But it's a very big summer. Oh, some forwards we're also linked with Semenyo. Again, I think quality player. Will he take us to that next level? I'm not sure. Kudus from West Ham, but he's not had the best of season. I speak to Mike, so I don't know if you don't know Mike's the West Ham fan, and he said he's been underwhelming from start to finish. And do you want to pay 85 million for a player that hasn't, off the back of a poor season? And obviously we were getting linked to Isak, but I never entertain that deal. We don't spend that type of money, and Newcastle are well within their rights to demand 9 figures because he is worth that, and I think we can all agree. And we're just not going to pay that money. Anthony Gordon, which apparently a deal was agreed in the summer, he's now going to stay. I actually believe Newcastle keep all their players, so it's going to be tough. And this is where Richard Hoods and Michael Edwards, they've probably got the biggest job out of any directors in the league, I reckon. Them two, they've got a big summer, maybe along with Arsenal's new director as well. But we've got a lot of work to do. So yeah, Rich, it's
I think that Baleba goes somewhere, doesn't he? From Brighton.
Well, yeah.
He'll go somewhere.
I wouldn't have thought he goes this summer.
You don't.
He's only been there one season.
Yeah. Like we said,
you boys might come in with 100 million bid again.
Well, mate, don't joke about things like that, because that can't be ruled out. Now that we've just signed some 20-year-old from Sporting Lisbon.
Do you know what, Charlie? The way the modern day is going, even if you've been at a team for one season, you want to nip it first. Yeah, because if they have 2 good seasons, you're like, and another big club getting like, oh, why didn't we just get him when we saw the potential? So
you got to take a gamble sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Baleba will leave. I think he will leave. Us and United are heavily linked with him. and we've been linked with him for a while now. I think Baleba will leave. Yeah, we're linked to Jacob Ramsey as well, but I think that's just we've been linked to him for years. I don't think that's there's anything concrete in that, James. But yeah, I like Ramsey as a player, but we're linked to a lot of players that aren't needle movers. But then no one's really going to be a needle mover for Salah. But do you know there's I was speaking to Wolfie and Sabra about this, right? There is a player that can replicate Salah's output. It's just whether we pay him the wages. Harry Kane has a release clause of £67 million, right? And I think in British is 50. It's about 55 million. That sum is within our remit because I don't like this notion Liverpool don't have money. When we need to sign a player, Van Dijk, Alisson, Szoboszlai,
we're going to drop 110 on Caicedo.
Caicedo, exactly. We do put up the money. So I think if Harry Kane was pushing for an exit from Bayern Munich, or he's got an activation clause, I say we pay him that money because as much as we won't get money in for Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent, we're going to have a hell of a lot of money on our wage bill that we can offer. But it's probably going to be about $1 million circa. So I would go for Harry Kane. And I don't like this FIFA notion. You hit 30 and all of a sudden you're a bad player.
Yeah, it's mad.
We're seeing players age like fine wine. Like they're getting better as they grow up. So I actually believe that's a snip. And it's a signing that our fans are turning their nose at. But hold on, if Salah leaves, this is a player that's guaranteed you 25 to 30 league goals. He can actually replicate what Salah does. And the way he plays, he's not reliant on pace. He's never had pace. So, but will he work in a slot system? We're yet to see, but he's guaranteed goals. I would love to get Harry Kane. I think Salah leaves and we activate that clause. That's a player that we should be in for, 100%. Kane and Nunez swap deal, maybe? I don't think Bayern will accept that, but I'd love that, Pete. I'd love that.
You got to get rid of him somehow. But Daz, any opinions on Liverpool? We've obviously got Rom's perspectives. Rich and Charlie have come in with their perspectives on Liverpool. Anything to add as a Newcastle fan?
No. I was talking to one of my friends today about it. Just mentioned it because he was mentioning Liverpool, and yeah, it is a worry for them that those three players could walk out. And is it a case as well? It's like a domino effect. If one goes, they all go, kind of thing. So it is not looking good. But and then the rebuild is going to be expensive, and it's going to take time. And you know yourself, it doesn't always work out. Who does try and come in, and it's going to be very difficult to replicate what's potentially walking out the door. So worrying times for like you're going to win the league, but it's worrying times for next season, and it could be a mini rebuild on the cards.
Could be a mini or a monster rebuild. Either way, and
you can't do it in one summer though. Like when you're replacing that volume of players, you can't do it in one summer. It's not going to happen. Like it's unfortunate. As you said, Roms, if it was like, all right, one leaving this summer, if they were leaving over 2 or 3 summers, that's a lot easier to deal with. All at once is problems.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Roms, you talked about the fact that it's a big summer for your owners. Is it a big summer for Chelsea's owners? You spent a lot of money anyway in the last few years, but as you've mentioned, Charlie, there's still significant gaps in your team that you want filled. But just before you come to the Chelsea as a whole situation, I have to ask you this, mate. What the hell is going on with you paying Man United to take Jadon Sancho back?
Well, it's not been officially decided yet, but
I need to know what is this all about?
Well, what it's about?
This could genuinely happen, though, couldn't it? Well, you could actually be paying them to take him back.
Yeah, the option is there. Now, obviously, when the deal was done last summer, it was a loan obligation to buy as long as we didn't finish in the bottom 6, and there was no mention of any cancellation fee or anything like that. But then suddenly, I think it was last week or the week before, a couple of reports started coming out. Oh, there is an option to pay a penalty fee to send him back. And then there was an exclusive in the Eye today saying that Chelsea are considering the possibility, but then it adds further down. But the current plan is to continue with him. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we did take the option up to pay United to send him back, because if it's 25 mil to sign him, I can't. There's no mention of what the penalty fee is. The penalty fee won't be 25 million. I wouldn't have thought. So if we can pay to send him back and invest that money in someone else, then I would probably be for that. And I feel a bit bad saying it, because I actually like Jadon Sancho as a footballer. I think he's got a lot of ability, but it just hasn't happened for him. You know, he's not scored since December. He's got, since the end of September, right? He's got 2 goals and 1 assist since the end of September. That's not good enough. You know, this final 9 games now, this could be him. This is him playing for his Chelsea career, because if he continues how he's been going on since December, then it just makes the decision for us, doesn't it? You know, it makes that decision for us. You're thinking, do we pay 25 million for a player that's not delivered for us at all this season, or do we pay slightly less than that and send him back and it's someone else's problem? I mean, what's mad is I can't think of a situation. I mean, maybe there is. I can't think of a single situation where a club has paid another club to take a player back, or paid a club to pay the club because you don't want that player, paid them to not have them. I mean, if that happens, like on a human level, you would have to feel a bit sorry for Sancho, because that's got to be really hard to deal with. You know, he would have thought that, I'll come into Chelsea, I'm going to rebuild my career, I'm going to start again. If we send him back, I genuinely think that I can't see Sancho being touched by another quote unquote big club if we send him back. So it's up to him really at the end of the day. If he performs well in the last 9 games and helps us win the Conference League and helps us get in the top 4 or top 5 even, then he probably hangs about. But if he carries on just doing nothing and offering nothing, then I really wouldn't be surprised that we're sending him back. And it's no surprise that, given that he's in crap form, that these reports are coming out, that it's been revealed that there is a penalty fee we can pay to send him back. If he was doing well, those reports don't come out. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I don't see what he's good at. I really don't. I've never rated him. I thought he was like a FIFA player, like good with some, you know, you press a few buttons on FIFA and they pull a few step overs out and everyone thinks they're brilliant. I don't know what he does.
The thing is, though, what he needs is runners beyond him. He needs players running beyond him. And and at Chelsea, we don't have that, because we don't play overlapping fullbacks, or very rarely play overlapping fullbacks. Every time he gets the ball, you know, there's no support for him. There's no runners. But even like, he doesn't really take players on either. Everything's kind of just passing back.
I've never liked his body language, and I've always said this.
Yeah,
about
but
players. Same with Philogene at Villa, like when he was at Villa. You've got your sleeves over your hands. You look like you don't want to be there. And if you're an opposition player, you know, one big tackle on him, and he doesn't fancy it. He doesn't want it. And football's all play. Like, we know these players are fantastic, have got fantastic ability. So most of it is played in the mind. That's where most of it is played. And if your perception is that you aren't fancying it, and imagine Joe Linton smashing into Jadon Sancho, he wouldn't go near. He wouldn't want the ball the rest of the game.
The problem is,
he'd land in Germany.
Yeah.
But this is why I have a little bit of sympathy with Sancho, a tiny bit, is that, you know, the only time he's really excelled is obviously at Dortmund. And that's a team that, you know, he has loads of he needs a system with a lot of passing options, because he is a pass and move kind of player. He always needs other options around him. And we don't really play like that. We don't even have the overlapping fullbacks. And if you're going to have no one surrounding him, no options to pass and move, then there really is no point having him. So, yeah, it's up to him at the end of the day now. Like, if he performs well in these final 9 games, he probably stays. If he doesn't, then you can't rule out paying the fee to send him back.
Yeah.
Look, Roms, Daz, I'll come to you just on Chelsea. We were just asking about the Jadon Sancho situation. Chelsea got a lot of work to do, it seems, to improve the squad. We talked about Liverpool having a bit of a drop off in terms of form. Chelsea have dropped off in form. They've been very sporadic as well. Do you see those boys still fighting in third, fourth, fifth place come the end of the season? Got a tough run. What do you think?
Charlie knows. It's crazy to think start of the season Chelsea looked like they had a lot of depth and they kind of got rid of everyone and didn't bring bodies in. But I just think their running's too tough. Look, if you look at from third to about 10th, there's like 4 or 5 points in it. So they're still in with a shout. But I just think their fixture list isn't kind to them. I can see maybe them just prioritizing Conference League as much as it should be a formality that they win that competition. I still think their focus might be shifted to it. In terms of Sancho, quickly, I have to just go and do something. I just think it's about environment. I agree with Charlie. I think there's a player there, but he's just not in the Prem. You've seen him at United now; he's not performed. Chelsea's not performed. He was scintillating at Dortmund. Maybe there's just some players that are just comfortable in a certain country, a certain club, and I just don't think he's going to cut it in England. And I think the proof's in the pudding. But in terms of Chelsea as a whole, look, I think their goal would have been to get Champions League football by the season. I think if I was to even ask Charlie, I think if you could win the conference or get Champions League football, I think Chelsea would want to get that Champions League football to attract.
Yeah, from the club perspective, definitely.
Yeah, from the club's perspective, 100%. Obviously, a trophy is always nice to win, regardless of what the trophy is. But I just think they made a massive mistake in January, letting go of, even if they weren't performing, letting go of your likes of Vegas and João Felix and other players and not bringing anybody's in because they look very bleak now. And
that was the big thing, Roms. Like
yeah.
I didn't have a problem with those players going.
But you have to bring, yeah.
But you have to, if you're gonna let players go, you've got to bring some players in to replace them. And basically, we weakened the squad for the remainder of the season. And then we paid the ultimate price for it when both your strikers get injured on deadline day against West Ham, and then Madueke goes down a week or two later with a hamstring injury against Brighton, and then you're scrambling about for options. We've hardly got any options in the attacking third now. The only fit wingers we've got are Sancho, George, and Neto, and Neto's playing for the middle. So it's literally Sancho and George as the fit wingers, and then Nkunku's been playing wide. And he's not a good player to play wide. And yeah, it has been a bit of a disaster. But having said that, we're still fourth at this point in time. Obviously, if Newcastle win their game and they'll go a point above us. And look, I said as soon as the January window closed, I didn't think we'd get Champions League football because of the strength of the squad, because of how we're playing, and because of how difficult the games we've got to finish the season. We've got to win big games away from home, which we've shown ourselves incapable of doing for a number of years now. But with the way it's going, we had the table up earlier on. I think it's before you were on, Rooms. We had the table up earlier on, and like Newcastle, City, Chelsea, Villa, etc., Fulham, and that, all those teams, last 5 games, they're 2 wins in 5. There's no consistency from anyone. So whilst I wouldn't expect us to do it, whilst I don't believe we're going to do it, there's a small part of me that thinks somehow if you can even get in your last 9 games, if you could get maybe 3 or 4 wins, then because of the lack of consistency, because of other teams in that race playing against each other on a number of occasions between now and the end of the season, maybe we could sneak in, but that's kind of a more of a hopeful thing rather than an expectation.
Do you know what? My logic is this, right? Winning the League Cup, I saw it 2 years ago with my team. You then went on to win the FA Cup. I saw it happen with United. They went on a run and secured top 4 in Ten Hag's first season. You saw it done for you, Charlie, with Mourinho, and when Pep first came here, right? Winning the League Cup is massive, and I think that's Pete and the chat will agree with me. When everyone's saying Newcastle are in bad form, I said they're not purposely, but I think they're saving themselves for this cup final. And I think Howe even said it, and yeah, exactly. And Howe even said at Anfield after he won the trophy, I showed my hand. And I don't think Isaac was actually injured. He's a very intelligent manager, and I always said if they win the Carabao, they're going to skyrocket. Their form is just going to go like that. The trajectory go like that because rub it in a bit more. What will happen is, I reckon you'll go on a crazy run. And I've seen your fixture running. It is very kind. I've seen City's running. It's quite kind. Charlie's, out of all of the top 4 contenders, yours looks
terrible, bro. It's the worst.
So I think the top 5, when everything's said and done, is Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Forest, and I think Newcastle get the 5th place, which will be enough for Champions League football at the end of the day. League Cup and Champions League football, by the way. I've said this. I think it will be between Eddie Howe and Slot and Nuno at Forest, to be fair. Them 3 will be the front runners for Manager of the Year, 100%. Because I hope you lot are building a statue right now, because to deliver first trophy in how many years and to get Champions League football in the same season, that's unprecedented. Honestly, for Newcastle, that's amazing. I think Slot, what Nuno's doing at Forest as well to get them 3rd is an amazing job. I think they'll be the front runners. But yeah, to answer your question, Dave, Pete, I just think Chelsea will just miss out. I think Europa League for them, and they'll win the conference. I think they'll just miss out. I think you get 5th place, City get 4th. Sorry, Forest get 4th, City get 3rd, and Arsenal, Liverpool are 1st and 2nd.
Is that how you see it, Daz?
Well, just back on Chelsea first. Like I remember last season, we were like the season Chelsea had, it was a disaster. And then I remember saying at the start of this season that if Chelsea get their act together, they could come good, and that was the worry. And it looked like they were at one point. They were flying it. And I remember Charlie did say that he ruled them out of getting Champions League. We thought it was just a bit cautious, but like it is. Who knows what way it will go? But I think just Chelsea, if they don't get Champions League football, like they keep chopping and changing, but they need to sit down and go, what is our strategy here? With a decent strategy, they can kick on, because they've got the players, a few tweaks, and they've got different squads of players as well. But they just need to decide what they're doing. They can kick on. Is Maresca the answer for them to kick on into next season as well? Or are they going to go looking at changing again? But interesting times ahead.
Definitely. Look, the comments that has been made about Newcastle have been absolutely spot on from everyone on the panel. I agree with Roms. I think there's an opportunity for us to really kind of kick on now. The shackles are off, as we talked about, Daz, on our reaction show to the cup final. Shackles are off now. The trophy's in the cabinet. We've guaranteed European football of some form. So let's just go at it. And I do think the next 4 games for Newcastle will tell us a lot about where we're going to go. Yeah, because they are very much winnable games. Brentford, Leicester, Man United, and then the rearranged fixture with Palace. 3 of which are at home out of that 4. So I think that's a chance for us to kick on. But boys, I think we'll end it there for tonight. It's been a great chat about all things football and talking about the Carabao Cup. Roms, big respect for you to come on, considering obviously you didn't win it. It's always good to get a Liverpool perspective.
I love speaking with yourselves, man. Anytime. I've just been very busy recently, so hopefully you see me on much more.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice and Roms.
Charlie, spot on as ever, from Blue Brothers CFC. Make sure you go subscribe to Charlie's channel. Top man, as always, mate, for coming on and sharing your opinions.
No, pleasure, mate.
We had Wolfie on, so make sure Forest Fans TV. Make sure you go and subscribe to those.
Don't subscribe to him.
I'll tell him. I'll make sure that he knows you said that. And of course, the Villa Park Pod. As well. And look, whilst you're on your way out, make sure that you subscribe to Loaded Mag NUFC. And of course, as well as that, make sure you give this show a like. Top Table Talk. Make sure you give the opportunity for more people to see that on the YouTube platform. Go and click a like on your way out, and do us all a big favor and a massive thanks.
And just one thing, if you haven't donated to Patrick, make sure you do on your way out. If you can spare any sort of money, then just please do. Can you get the link on the screen again quickly, Daz?
Yeah, it's going across the bottom, but I'll put it on.
Yes, on the bottom of it. Sorry, forget that.
I'll do one better, because I've clicked the link, and I think you might be able to see it here. So this is what you'll see when you click into the GoFundMe, and as you can see, and Wolfie did say, 20,000 euros have been raised from, which is an amazing.
Well, someone said in €1,000. Fair.
Yeah, amazing. Which was the 20,000 euros was the goal. But remember, if anyone's just catching up and watching or missed when Wolfie was on, Wolfie was saying that the top elite professional help is in Germany. I think they've raised enough for him to go to Turkey for the potential life-saving treatment, but it's in Germany where the elite specialists are, and that's more money. So they're seeing now if they can get to the 35, I think, €1,000 mark, which would allow him to get the even better treatment on there. So if you can go on there. It gives you some pictures and a little bit of a brief about Patrick's situation. I'll let people go and explore that themselves, but I just wanted to put that on the screen so everyone can see the person that we are talking about. If you don't know who Patrick is, Man City fan, content creator, just like ourselves. So that's got the link on there as well.
Just to add on to that, I've been fortunate enough to do a few shows with Patrick. He's just a downright genuine guy, man, always smiling. You'll never think he's going through what he's going through, just how he is as a person, his demeanor. He's just always smiling. He battles through it. So no, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. So yeah, if you can, any donation will be much appreciated.
Love it, boys. People in the chat, legends as always. Thank you for your comments, your questions, as always, and your support. It never goes amiss. And yeah, that's a wrap.
See you in the next one, which might be tomorrow. Have a good evening.